A lot has changed in real estate this year, so I did some research to find out which add-ons had the most bang for the buck for real estate photography, and what I found was actually quite surprising. So I gathered data from the National Association of Realtors, also from Zillow here in 2022, and then I compared that to two different polls that I put out there. One was to the popular real estate photography group on Facebook, and also here on my community on YouTube. I think that you'll also find these results rather surprising, but it tells us two big overlying things. One, the obvious is that, well, what add-ons would be best to concentrate on going forward? But an even bigger thing is, how would you sell those? Because when we take a look between photographers, between agents, between then buyers and sellers, these statistics tell us a lot more that can help us on how we might want to pitch these and also the proper effectiveness that we can provide to our clients. Now, 5 of these add-ons really stood out: floor plans, virtual tours, videos, drone, and virtual staging. Now, drone and virtual staging are property specific. They can't necessarily be sold to every gig because drone tends to be on a certain price point. It also tends to be maybe on the size of a house. Virtual staging typically requires an empty property, but both have great value, and I'm going to be talking about those later in the video. But the first 3 really stand out when we're talking about floor plans, virtual tours, and video as well. But beyond all this, there's a couple other bigger questions that I want to address here that the statistics will show. It's not just why certain add-ons are preferred in some of the statistics that will show that, but also where they might be utilized best. And that can be a common misperception when it comes to upselling some of these add-ons because they might not be utilized properly by your clients. So anyways, let's start from the beginning. Let's start with some of the stats and let's work our way up from there. So here are stats from the National Association of Realtors in one of their 2022 reports near the end of the year, which shows that floor plans were the most popular add-on requested from buyers in 2022 that were looking for homes, which, by the way, will differ from other stats coming up. Floor plans, though, were the 3rd most useful website feature compared to everything else. So narrowing that down to just the add-ons, we can see that virtual tours came in 2nd, and videos 3rd. Zillow's stats were somewhat similar, and I'll get to that in a sec, but when we do, there's a critical twist on Zillow that I'll talk about as well. But looking at these NAR stats, National Association of Realtor, there's something rather interesting when we look at how these results compared when I asked photographers the same questions. When I polled photographers, the popularity varied. It didn't always line up with what buyers preferred. So this tells us a couple things. First, floor plans probably weren't requested very often by realtors, yet since buyers prefer floor plans, it tells us that many realtors may just not be aware of how popular floor plans are now with buyers. This makes sense since easy-to-use floor plan apps like CubiCasa or iGuide, well, they're relatively new to the industry, relatively new, compared to other add-ons and older methods of doing floor plans, so it may not be something that comes to mind with many realtors. This opens up an upsell opportunity you can utilize, and I'll talk about that shortly. But the second thing, it's an even bigger issue when we look at these stats, is that when we compare tour and video popularity with photographers from my YouTube community to those in the Facebook real estate photography group, while photographers in my YouTube community were fairly on par with buyer preferences for tours and videos, photographers from the real estate photography Facebook group were way off the mark, actually favoring the opposite of what buyers preferred. Now, this is something I've seen over the past few years, is that on this and other Facebook groups, they have unfortunately become less than reliable resources for information. This tends to stem from photographers wanting to believe that what they prefer to do is what clients want them to do, which becomes inaccurate advice spread throughout these groups, leading other photographers on the wrong path, which in turn results in them missing out on bigger opportunities. Look, if you're a photographer that feels tours aren't worth it, then you won't likely provide them, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of not getting the work to do them. On the other hand, photographers in my YouTube community here, they were much closer to providing services in accordance with market trends. Now, I can't take all the credit for that, but I will say that when it comes to finding information on real estate photography, and especially markets, be wary of the sources you use for information. This is why my research, I didn't just ask one source, I did research on two trusted sources, the National Association of Realtors and Zillow, and I also polled two other sources as well. In any case, all of these add-ons are easy to provide and you can make more money for each gig. Floor plans take about 15 minutes using CubiCasa with their mobile app. You can download my books on virtual tours and real estate videography to get started with those services. And I have links to that, videos, and other useful information in the description for this video. But your preference for add-ons may not align with what the market calls for, and thus what you can leverage to make more money on your real estate photography gigs. Businesses that succeed fill client needs, whereas hobbyists pursue their own interest. Now, there's nothing wrong with photography as a hobby, but if you want to make money doing real estate photography, then you need to favor value over desire. Next, I compared 2022 results from Zillow against the National Association of Realtors and photographers as well, just for those big threes. I'll get to, once again, drone and virtual staging later. NAR is in blue, Zillow's in red in this particular chart, and the photographers are in yellow and green. Floor plans were also the most popular from Zillow's results, even more so than those polled by the National Association of Realtors. In fact, 80% of buyers told Zillow they were more likely to view a home if the listing included a floor plan. That's huge, but obviously it's overlooked by realtors, so this is something you can educate your clients on using these stats to start working toward an upsell for that service. Virtual tours were also a biggie with buyers, but when it came to videos, this is interesting in that Zillow left it out. There was no mention of it in any of their reports, which is no doubt because Zillow is retiring their video upload service at the end of 2022. Zillow is now shifting away from video to prioritize their Zillow 3D Home, which is virtual tours with a floor plan, which once again emphasizes the fact that floor plans and virtual tours are more popular with buyers than videos. Granted, Zillow's 3D Home products will take priority over your own floor plans and virtual tours on Zillow, not other listing sites, but this tells us just how popular floor plans and virtual tours are with buyers right now, way more than videos. But besides that, these add-ons only provide value if they're utilized properly. So while floor plans are included with photos that are syndicated out to listing websites, and virtual tours and video are, but sometimes harder to find on sites like Realtor and Redfin, etc., more and more realtors are wanting to promote their properties through social media, which begs a big question. Is social media effective for add-ons like video? Well, you might be surprised at this one. Looking at other 2022 data from the National Association of Realtors, the methods realtors used most to market a property will actually differ from their target market. For instance, as shown here, social media ranked 22% for realtors representing all sellers, and it was even higher for young realtors aged 23 to 31. That's what realtors thought. But when we look at how buyers found agents, we see a vastly different result, with just 1% utilizing social media. In fact, that younger demographic from 23 to 31 cared even less, despite the fact that realtors in that age group thought social media would be effective. This actually makes a lot of sense, and it's something I talk about in my book on business techniques for real estate photography, is that social media is more for entertainment than it is a place to search for the most expensive purchase you'll make in your lifetime. When somebody is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a home, the last thing they think about is TikTok or Instagram, which is slowly becoming another TikTok, or Facebook. Instead, buyers and sellers will first look for referrals first and foremost and other methods to find a realtor. Also, buyers will use sites like Zillow, Realtor, Redfin, etc. to search for homes specific to their needs. Social media doesn't have that capability, so it's not how buyers find homes or how they seek out the agents also when it comes to selling your house. And I gotta say, I find it ironic that there are so many courses to teach realtors how to use social media, yet it's the least effective method for attracting sales. And where does the idea of social media for sales, where is it promoted the most? Social media, of course, which is like the proverbial fox guarding the henhouse. Anyway, if you think that you should concentrate on video because realtors will promote their properties on social media, you might want to rethink that for the long game. Social media may not have staying power for each individual agent. Some yes, but overall not likely as a whole. If, over time, buyers aren't using social media for their home search, then many agents likely won't continue to provide that add-on since it could eventually show as being less effective compared to other add-ons and marketing methods. Remember that it's better to have your work show its effectiveness than to just take a client's money, if, that is, you want to have long-term clients and a long-term business. So what are the key takeaways from all this? Well, first, floor plans are highly underrated by agents, but using these stats, you could upsell this easy add-on. Share these stats with your clients and show them how this low-cost add-on would provide more bang for their buck. This is what buyers want most, and it's the easiest add-on to make. Second, virtual tours are more popular with buyers than videos, and with these stats, you could upsell virtual tours as well. And they are a bit more evolved than floor plans, but they are easier to do than videos. And videos are still popular, but if the use is for social media, then approach it with caution. You may want to encourage your clients to also consider floor plans and virtual tours, showing them why those would be more effective. This provides an upsell opportunity for your other add-ons while also providing more effective marketing material, which then saves your reputation in the long run. Drones will always be popular, but they are specific to price points and certain properties. They're a must-have if you're going to be doing luxury or any type of large property. Be aware, though, of how they are used in your region and upsell them appropriately. Virtual staging is something I didn't talk a lot about yet, but it's a great add-on that's easy to do. Now, it does require an empty house and thus property specific, but there is proven value in virtual staging. In fact, according to the National Association of Realtors, staged homes, whether virtually staged or not, increase the selling price by 1 to 5%, and 95% of home shoppers found virtual staging to be a useful option. So when you encounter an empty property, consider upselling virtual staging to your clients along with a floor plan. Adding a virtual tour would be very difficult to virtually stage. You can do it. A video would be impossible. But by providing a floor plan and virtually staged photos, you could provide clients with two very useful add-ons for empty properties that are easy for you to do as well. And above all else, make sure you provide add-ons. Realtors prefer one-stop shops, so if you haven't yet, then consider getting into floor plans, virtual tours, video, virtual staging, and drone as well. You don't have to be the person doing all the work, but be prepared to provide these add-ons as they will add value to your client and your business as well.